logging in more, but I think we should start considering that a lot of us already joined before time. And so today, as we discussed from last time, the focus of this TWG would be to review countries' experiences in trying out two tables in the DRSF. One is the table B1B on population exposure by social groups, and another table B2A on exposure of land and infrastructure by hazard type. And we have the volunteer, which is Mongolia and Bhutan. So today we are going to hear the experiences and some of the lessons and maybe recommendations from the two countries. So let me start off by also saying that our chair, Ms. Aruna from Mongolia, is unable to join us today due to her own circumstances. She has an accident that she could not join us today. So I'll, with all your permission, I'm going to share the TWG today. So let me start off by quickly showing the tables that we are going to discuss today. Then I will invite Mongolia to make that presentation, followed by Bhutan, and then we open the floor for discussions. And afterward, in our usual agenda, we're going to look at the next set of tables that we are going to review, and then in case some of our participants today would like to volunteer for the next round of the DRSF table review. So let me share my screen. And I hope you all can see my screen. So right, so table B1B centers around about understand the population exposure to disaster and disaggregated by types of social groups. If we look at the roles, maybe we can start from the roles. We have different types of disaster. Either it's geophysical, like earthquake, hydrological, like flood, biological, methodological, climatological, and other type of disaster. Those are the classification that we discussed last time in terms of disaster classification. And in terms of understanding the levels of exposure, we would classify them into high, moderate, low. This depends on how country would like to measure and use some of the threshold. We're going to hear more from Mongolia on that as well. But those are the roles. The columns are different sectors of population of priority. So we have different age group, sex, urban rural population, and we have the last column, which are other vulnerability groups that might be of interest for policy understanding that we might want to have some information on. So this table would be a combination of two main set of information. So one is the disaster occurrence information that will come on the row of the table, and then a set of population information in the column. And we can do that either by analyzing through a GIS software, because it's easy to layer them in based on their geolocation, and then we can see the disaggregation quite easily. So that's table B1B. The next table that Mongolia and Bhutan looked at was the table B2A. So let me rotate. And this is again is also the exposure information. Now we kind of have what the table a bit. So the disaster types are in columns because there's a lot of things that we want to capture in the rows. So now we in table B2A, we focus on land and key infrastructure of the country that are exposed to different kinds of hazards. So we have critical infrastructures like hospitals, health facilities, schools, like education facilities, other government offices, buildings, public administrations, buildings, monuments, religious buildings, temples or churches, and also roads, bridges, airports. And this is a long list of key critical infrastructure that would be important in time of disaster, that we know which infrastructure are at risk of being impacted and might worsening the impact of a disaster. And this list are examples. So we depending on the priority of the country, the list can be shortened or it can be longer, and focusing on some of the key information that country would need in their disaster planning. Another set is of information is about land, and we generally following broad land cover classification. We have land, agricultural land, forest land, built-up areas, and that would be in terms of their exposure to different kind of hazards. So these are the two tables that Mongolia and Bhutan have looked at actually over the new years as well, and they have done incredible job and also excellent work in visualizing some of the key information. Let me stop here first in case there are questions from the TWG. So let me just stop sharing. So feel free to raise your hand if you have questions about the two tables that we're going to discuss today. Right. If not yet, may I invite Mongolia to present the results of their review. So Mongolia, Amara, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. How are you?
Great. How are you? Just a question first. Would you like us to share the presentation for you, or would you like to do it by yourself?
Oh, it's okay. I can do it by myself.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, you can start when you're ready.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's Amra from the National Emergency Management Agency of Mongolia. So I'm gonna introduce that current disaster-related statistics and database which how we are developing and making accessible to the public. So I prepared this presentation with the National Statistical Office of Mongolia. So they will also gonna make some short introduction on that, how they collect the data and how the availability of the data they do have. So at first, currently we are developing the disaster risk database within the support of the disaster risk assessment project by the Asian Development Bank. And the database is accessible to the public so that everyone can use their for the reference this database. So in the special database section, as you can see that all the disaster exposure and vulnerability statistic data in Mongolia is available in that section of the database. So here shows that what we can find in the database in relation to the exposure of disaster. The ADB project assessed that commonly occur 10 types of hazards in Mongolia, including drought, flood, the winter disaster, flood, and earthquakes. And its exposure on the elements are the elements including educational and health facilities, roads and railways, and electricity grids and territorial level, and many other things. So all this data can easily find in the database, so everyone can see that. In case of the methodology, exposure assessment methodology. In order to assess this exposure, the first we overlapped all the hazard mapping. So then have to say that the layer that each elements their location on the map and calculated on the ArcGIS by using the ArcGIS. After that, all exported data. I mean, after that, exported all calculated data of the elements and have to say they export it to the Microsoft Excel program and process it, and they have to say like identify that level of the exposures. For this slide shows that related organizations and agencies for the respective data, for NEMA collected that meteorology and hydrology related data from the Information Research and Institute of Meteorology, and have this seismic like earthquake related data from the Institute of the Astronomy and Geophysics, and like zoonotic data is responsible for the veterinary and animal breeding agencies. And also there are many other like ministries and agencies like Ministry of Food and Agriculture and Light Industry. For the road and transport related data, it's from the Ministry of Road and Transport Development and Ministry of Digital Development and Communication as well. And the Ministry of Energy also can provide us some data to collect, to assess this exposure. And the most important thing is that the National Statistical Office of Mongolia provide us with the very desegregated data on the population. So now the Ms. Toktasma from the NSO will make a brief introduction of the how they collect the data. So the floor is yours. Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Togdilma. I'm introducing our population and household statistics. Current situation of population and household Mongolia legally based on the law of statistics, law of general authority state registration, law of civil registration, law of family. National Statistics Office disseminated population and household statistics on an annual basis, while the population and housing census is conducted every 10 years. Next slide, please. This slide shows population and household database source of information. National Statistics Office collected population statistics data every month, 25th, birth and death data from the gathered database. We are collecting generally population statistics data, real time, IMX and capital, SOM Doric, and Bakhora level. We are collecting, and also other source information we are collecting from the other organization. For example, Ministry of Health. Every administrative unit is connected to an online centralized database. Also, we can control every migration. Next slide. So here shows widely statistics data collection. National Statistics Office collected widely statistics data, birth, death, marital status, divorce, adopt. Those indicators we are collecting from the General Authority of State Registration. Nowadays, widely statistics collect data from civil registration database of the gathered through the force system. Okay, thank you. Just brief introduction.
Yeah, I think you're muted. If you want to continue the presentation.
Okay. So in this presentation, I chose that earthquake as an example. So here you can see that earthquake hazard map. So we use this hazard map as a base and identify all the elements and exposure level to the earthquake. Actually, we do have all kinds of hazard maps and use this as a base for the exposure to the all related disasters. So here's the B1B, so population exposure by social groups. At first, I would like to emphasize that we divided the level of exposure into 5 levels. Actually, in this have to say the table was in 3 level exposure. So we divided it into the 5 level, like very high, medium, and low, and very low. 5 level according to the approach regulation in Mongolia. So we can see the number of people by age groups and sex and location in certain level of exposure. The data was from the NSO, of course. So all disaggregated population data collected from the NSO, we assess it by the previously explained methods by each disaster types. As I said before, I prepared only the earthquake data in this slide. So please note that we do have all the data in relation to these 4 types of disaster categories. Here we can see the earthquake exposure map by Dabak level, which is the smallest unit of the Mongolian administrative level. So this picture shows that how the database looks like, and in the element section, we can select the types of elements you would like to see, and on the certain types of disaster by selecting the disaster type. So you can see that the level of exposure on the each level, which I said before. So you can see the result here. The red color shows that it's like a very high exposure level, and orange color indicates that it's a high level, and yellow is like a medium, and the green is a low. So this picture shows that earthquake exposure map on the education and health facilities by exposure level. So I would like to mention one thing in here. So this is the, we do have, I said before, like we do have all data, but this database is still under the development progress. So it's not fully developed at the time. So the green color can be, so the background is like, the all looks like all green. So the green color may be changed like due to the location of the health and education facilities. I mean, that some green color areas may not have like this kind of facilities, or they may have like different level of the exposure. So this will be changed soon. I hope so. We are still working on it. So here is the road exposure map from the database, how it's look. So as you can see, the right regions of the road, of the country, is like in the high level of exposure. So as I said before, the green color is like can be like disappeared or like changed its color. So in the case of the availability of the land and infrastructure exposure data, those highlighted infrastructure exposure data, we do not have like like piers and water supply infrastructure and water sewage and treatment systems. In case of the piers, of course, in Mongolia, we do not have that one. So within the ADP project, we could not collect the data on the water supply infrastructure and water sewage and treatment systems. So we do not have this kind of data at this moment. What we do have in the ROV, in the like related ministries, you know. So perhaps in the near future, we can this data can be like available to assess that exposure level. So in case of the critical and public administration buildings, we collected all data, but we do not classify them into the like, you know, the administration building or like critical building, like it's like including all kind of buildings in one like categories. So in case of the land, we assess that exposure level on the agricultural land and the pasture land areas. So here is the main challenges currently we are facing. So since the database is newly developed in Mongolia, so we have limited human resources to maintain and enhancing this database in the future. So maybe the best option can be like training the for those who are responsible for the database maintenance. I mean, like our personal officers. So and the second is like technical capacity, such as like a high performance computer, work on the like special and GIS systems. So we are now the lack of technical capacity currently. So and the last thing is like the limited software capacities. So like need of like updated and high performance servers can be like most needs currently in Mongolia now. So thank you very much. It's almost done.
Thank you very much, and this is excellent, and congratulations for the very impressive initial work. And I know this is work in progress, but I think it's already shown many prospects of how data can be used. Maybe to myself, I think perhaps a key takeaways I can mention here. So first of all, there might already be a lot of data in your country, but they are sitting in different ministries, sitting in different agencies responsible for thematic or sector specific responsibilities. I think this is perhaps what we mean by data integration, and we in a very traditional sense. Disaster agency might only have data on hazard occurrence and exposure. But when we overlay that with population information, with road transport for Ministry of Transport, we overlay with other set of information, then we created new information that are critical for disaster planning. And these are not new data investment. The data are already out there. This is to analyze and integrate data into a one single framework and make them more useful for policy planning processes. I think this is I think excellent. And second takeaway that I have is if we all remember the very beautiful maps that we saw. We know that disasters never respect any kind of borders, right? So, but for planning purposes and for data considerations, Mongolia case decided to disaggregate data to the lowest administrative level. Of course, one administrative area might have section of it that is high exposure and medium exposure, but we can't really work on that level of dynamics yet. Our planning is still perhaps best to integrate it with the administrative areas. And I think that's the way to that is the way that we should go. That we make some compromises, but at least what is important is for data to be useful in the planning process. And that could be, for in Thailand, it can be in Tambon level, which is very low. In Philippines can be barangay level, for example. And of course, one barangay in the Philippines can be very big, but that's how you have data for many aspects, from population, social, environment, that might be a percentage around one administrative unit. And I think that will be more useful for planning purposes. And I think lastly, this is a true collaboration, right? You cannot, perhaps you can, but perhaps better to work together with via ministries and agencies in the system. And then I think there's a lot of impact that we can see from this kind of results. So I think this is excellent. I'm wondering if before I open the floor for any questions, so go back to Mongolia. Do you have any other additions you want to mention at this point? There is a question from Virginia. What are the years of coverage for the compilation? So Amara, could you?
Yeah, actually this project has started like since 2020, like end of the 2020. So it's been like 2 to 2 years. I mean, the coverage means like.
Right, and I guess once the methodology and software is established, then you can do time series information, right? So we can analyze backward. So that I think that can be done. But for the current work, it was started in 2020.
Yes.
Thank you. Any perhaps other questions to Mongolia? Maybe I have maybe a question, maybe for the next step. Since you already integrated a lot of information centered around disaster information, what is the plan in using this information for your policy planning? And this question is going to Nema. I think you are.
I think
yeah, okay.
Ms. Basra is in here. So do you want to answer the question?
Is Ms. Basara, I think you are here.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to answer this first question, please. What are the years of coverage for the compilation? Yeah. In this case, it depends on the types of a disaster. For example, for droughts, and we have collected data since the 1940s. Since the 1940s, it means it's for the 80 years, something more. And for earthquake, and we have collected some data from the 2000, from the 1905. It's the last 100 years. So that data we can cover all the data we collected of that. In this case, and we are just developing some hazard, some vulnerability, and data including in it. In hazard data we have collected for maybe this in 50 or 60, maybe it's 100 years ago, we have collected data. But the vulnerability data is a very current one for the number of households, number of population. Yeah, this is in some number of infrastructure. This is in recent data we used for it. And for questions, another one is there any technical working group between INESO and the disaster agency? And what is the coordination mechanism? Please share. Okay, thank you very much for the question. And we have we have a contract between NEMA, as NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency, and National Statistical Office, and we work together. So, and NEMA usually share in our the hazard and incident data to INESO every month. Every month we share each other. As we have now some agreement, if you want some anymore, and we really wanted to share with you this specifically. Do you, Alda? Okay, if you have some questions, and we are happy to answer for you.
Thanks, and maybe just a question on the next step, perhaps, in terms of how Mongolia would be planning to use this information for the planning purposes.
As a planning purpose, absolutely, this is a main benefits of the collecting data and developing hazard mapping is how to use it. And we really wanted to disseminate these results of the collected data or this hazard mapping or risk assessment results to decision makers and policy planners. And we now trying to share this kinds of results by our website. It's under the maintenance right now, and soon it will be accessible to the public. And we really wanted to share it as these days, and we share this kinds of information to decision makers and policy planners. The planners by organizing some training, and also we send them some compilation book to them, and also we share the white book. This is every yearly book produced by the NEMA. We introduced all the results of the mapping on risk assessment results included in the white book, and we share the white book to all the decision makers and planners, and we cannot reach everyone. In this case, we need to organize some trainings, maybe in some consultation meetings and decision makers in national level and also in local levels. And for the administrative units in Mongolia has in 21 provinces, we call it AMAC, and also one capital. In this case, in 21 local administrative units, we want to disseminate all the results of the mapping and the results of the risk assessment, and also these kinds of data. In this case, we have some difficulties to reach them. In this case, we are just planning to have some training to organize it local level a bit in INESO. And now we are just planning. We haven't begun our training it yet. Now, and we may begin this kinds of trainings in virtual training at the first, maybe. And if it's this is possible, and for the finance, it's better to organize and in-person training with them.
Yeah, thank you, and excellent, and we look forward to working even more closely with Mongolia again. This is going to be a very good set of information for disaster planning. And if we see the kind of information we can get, we always have limited budget, right? But if we want to invest in evacuation centers, for example, we know where the at-risk area from the map. Or if we want to have the new projects to build more roads, then we know which section of the country that are highly exposed to different kinds of disaster that we perhaps want to avoid. I think the use of this kind of information will be very useful for not only for disaster planning but for other development planning. Yeah, and yeah, we'll look forward to work again more closely with Mongolia going forward as well. So thank you very much for Mongolia, and perhaps now we're going to listen to the experience from Bhutan. So we have Sonam joining this call. So Sonam, you have the floor. You are muted, Sonam.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to share my screen PPT directly. Share, then. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
My PPT? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good afternoon or good morning to everybody. My name is Sonam Seo. I'm engineer and a GIS officer at the Department of Local Governance and Disaster Management. Here in Bhutan, we are undergoing some major changes, institutional changes. Now, Department of Disaster Management is clubbed or merged with Department of Local Government, and it is called the Department of Local Governance and Disaster Management, and is under the Minister of Home Affairs. Now, regarding table B1B, the social exposure by social group. So here, I would basically like to share my experience and opinion of this table with respect to our context. So, and what is available already and what needs to be done here. So when coming to this table B1B, all the social information, especially along the top row, the C31A, C2A2, and all, and even C2A4. All this data can be acquired from the population and housing census of Bhutan conducted by National Statistical Bureau, NSB, regularly in the term 5 to 10 years interval. So for this, what I think is these are all demographic data, and
Sonam, I think we cannot hear you. Sonam, are you still with us? Hi, Sonam. Can you hear me? Hi, anyone hear me now? Sorry, we're having a technical errors from our end. Thanks for the confirmation. So, and sincere apologies for this. This just happened, and we were not informed about any maintenance in our compound. So this must be just a technical error, right? But I think it should work now. Someone cannot join the link, so we are going to post the link in the chat again, so that we can resume.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
was
sorry,
it only me who got disconnected?
we heard you when you start, when I think if I can represent everyone, when you started talking about the first table.
Okay. So we are waiting for some more to join now.
I think that everyone is trying to reconnect, but I think we got almost everyone. So you can continue. I'm so sorry for this.
Okay. It's okay.
But thanks so much for everyone.
Yeah.
For your
I think I also tried about almost 6 to 7 times to reconnect.
Yes.
This one and screen share. Yeah. Okay.
You can before.
Okay. Can I talking now? Sorry.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. Regarding table B1B, I was saying it is basically 2 by 2 mix of spatial data. Now, since I am a GIS officer, I can relate them with GIS more easily than any other. And I see this data along the left-hand column, first column. These are all the data that has to be processed and produced by relevant or concerned authorities. Like here we have Department of Geology and Mines, and Flood and Engineering Management Division, then NCHM and all. So we have different agencies more relevant and mandated to deal all this. So we may have to get from them and then compile in one central database. At the moment, our department is taking up a project whereby we have Bhutan disaster risk management product. So we are trying to have all the relevant data relevant to disaster management one platform. We have all of in our team, and we are asking them to contribute their data and update regularly. And this C1A, C2A2, and C2A4 are all the attribute of those are the of data collected during population houses. So again, C2 data can be it's very actually we have like special data where we have the boundary of urban and basically a boundary urban area. So this can be separated and used easily. So my say here is in Bhutan, we have almost all the data for B1B, but as Mr. Tirapong was mentioning in the first presentation talk, that we have the data, but they are scattered in different agencies and they are owned by different agencies. So we need to bring together and combine. And one thing here.
Right. So now may I suggest?
We need data.
So now I'm sorry. May I suggest that maybe you can turn off your camera? Perhaps we can save the bandwidth a little bit, because I think we can hear you, but
okay,
your voice was breaking a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay. And for the above data, the population data, social data, since movement is very dynamic and our this at certain rate, so thinking we could have a simple app where people can update their real location constantly. But I don't know, this is just my that comes to my mind. And the next table B2A, this exposure of land and infrastructure by hazard. So as I said, hazard can be hazard mapping can be done by office of a relevant having the relevant mandates, while the infrastructure on the ground again may repeat, the data special data is resided with the different agencies, but again when they scattered in different agencies, okay, those data can be incomplete or sometimes can be duplicated and then not easily retrievable. But and of course we can try to compile them. But again, from our department side, whenever we get some fund, we go to the smallest administration level. We train the administration officer and local representative on use of maps like Google Map and OpenStreetMap, then merits of OpenStreetMap, and train them how to update StreetMap with critical infrastructure. This data can, all this data can be open, and even if you don't update it, they can actually by someone else. So if people on the ground update it, it can be more accurate, precise, and will be useful to the people for government, and especially for in terms of disaster like response or any other response, then even planning. Those data can be very useful. So whenever we get time or some fund, we are trying to train the local like a representative for the government's administrative officer, and then representative. We are taking them as a team because local representative, they have the fair knowledge of the locality, and then usually administration officer, they have handling capability. So when they team up, we can improve the map, and we update the map. We not only update the critical infrastructure only, but name of the shops, office, tourist destination, all, so that map become useful to the general public for some other purpose. Yeah, that's what we are doing. And what I feel is ESCAP should also take on board the I have Googled and I'm aware that there are global community like HOT, Humanitarian OpenStreetMapping Team. So for disaster related for exposure of infrastructure and land, we bring them on board and do mapping. That's my just my feeling. We can depend on OpenStreetMap for better management of any disaster in the future. So that's all from my side. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonam. And yeah, thank you for sharing your perspective and also experience in actually spending a lot of time understanding data availability within Bhutan. And as you mentioned, again, data are available, particularly for table B1B on the population exposure by social groups. But data, I think the next step would be in terms of interagency coordination and working together. And you also make a very good point that we should also work with local authorities, local officers who has actually on the ground understanding of the situations. At the very least, they would provide the proof of evidence that things are actually happening in their particular area. I think it's always good to have in the GS term we can call it ground truthing. So that we know what is actually happening on the ground, and before we make official statistics for the particular area or for a country. I think this is excellent. So I'm wondering if there are any questions from the group here. And my apology again for the issues in connecting to the meeting today. But if you have questions, you can also post in the chat, and then we can read out for you. And maybe while waiting for questions, another aspect that Sonam brought up is the need to have geospatial data, and that goes not only on disaster data, but other data that we have in the system, to the extent possible, if they can be georeferenced or at least presented by location. That would be very helpful in disaster planning and for other purposes as well, as we also heard from Mongolia. Right. If there's no question, Sonam, would you like to say a few words before we move to the next session?
No, I was just going to ask you, what do you think about taking on board the local communities, not regional or local, everywhere, that is OpenStreetMap hot with this work? What do you think, taking on board or collaborating with them? There's community out there who are basically working on producing these maps. We don't have in Bhutan though.
Okay. So for countries that has, I think that would be always from my experience is always good to involve different kinds of stakeholders in the country, and particularly those who are at the community level. And one from my personal experience also in Thailand, that those very active community groups also collect a lot of data that could be useful for our purposes. The issue would be how to work with them, and a lot of time they might feel that the data that are collected are not official, but they provide a lot of insights in the area that they are working with. I think that is definitely the way to go, and we have a lot of stories about that in Asia Pacific, and well, not to not forget to mention the Philippines, that involving local communities are actually part of a very good strategy, even within the PSA, I think, and also other countries as well. Yeah, I think so. If to the extent possible, I think we should engage the local community.
Thank you.
Right. So maybe we can perhaps let me first of all thank Mongolia and Bhutan for the work that they have done so far, during the past 2 months, and we have a couple of meetings together, and also I learned a lot personally from working with Mongolia and Bhutan for these 2 tables, and I think we are going to continue this collaboration, and this is definitely not going to be an ad hoc activities. So we started this off, and we would like to continue collaborating and supporting countries to improve their disaster stats. So maybe looking forward, Khun Paul, do I forget anything before we move to the next session? Yeah, if you have any question, feel free to put in the chat, or raise your hand, or just turn on the microphone. Right. Yeah. If not, maybe we can.
Okay.
We can. Yeah.
Okay. This is
Sorry.
Basra again. I would like to take more information about you. For Mongolia, we are just working on, this is this kinds of chart, and is it feasible into collective information for population, male and female, or urban and rural areas. We have all the information. Not right now the number of feasible disabled people, and also this is a number of some per people, and by income segregation is infeasible currently in Mongolia. As maybe in the future, and it will be feasible. So right now it's currently infeasible for us. I would like to add some more.
Yeah, thank you very much. And those kind of sector of populations are always more difficult to collect the data. Some countries do have specific surveys for that particular population, though. Yeah, I think one way to look at it is to make use of existing information first. I think we always think of what's possible, and once we have the information, putting together like you presented in the table, then the next question, the next strategic question would be, what are that people would need to make their important decisions. For example, if the exposure by level of poverty is actually crucial. Yeah, if that is crucial, then we need to think of how to collect that information. But if we don't start showing what's possible and then showing what are possible also data gaps, then that it will be difficult to facilitate discussions on data needed for planning purposes. Yeah, if it's not available now, I think what perhaps the next step that we can consider is to have this maybe informal discussion with the users.
Okay, thank you. That's true. And absolutely, this is in the income desegregation data. We really wanted to collect some more, but it should be fine, and we can find some exposure and some in the vulnerability area, how many people are living under the how to say it's the medium income. Yeah, this is an average income, and it should be fine, and in the future it should be feasible, and for us we can just calculate. It would be possible we can just calculate the people living under the average income in the nationwide. It should be fine, and we are just going to closely work with the NSO and to focus on the disabled people and the poor people under the average income, and we are going to work closely more on these issues. Thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. And yeah, we are also keen to be part of this development as well. So let's chat a bit later after the TWG. Is anything that we can support Mongolia and also other countries? Please feel free to let us know. So if there are no more question, maybe I can bring us to the next section. So now we have let's say the second episode of the DRSF table review. Now we're going to look at the next episode now. But let me try to see if I can share my screen. Oh, okay, Kun Paul can share the screen. Kun Paul, can you show table B3? The next table is table B3. I can try to share my screen if it's possible. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen.
No, sorry.
Not yet. Can you see my screen? I think it's okay. We still have this technical error, but maybe I can talk everyone through. It shouldn't be it's always better to visualize it, but we are having these technical issues and we're going to solve it with our IT after the call. But the next table is table B3 on background statistics on coping capacity. And this table, just in a nutshell, we are not going to invite countries to review this table yet. This is on coping capacity. The reason is that in the disaster-related statistics framework, this table is put together as an example of a list of statistics that country could consider as their list of important coping capacity information. Our suggestion for coping capacity statistics would be to first define within the national context what you could could cover under coping capacity, and do that through a multi-stakeholder discussion to come up with a list of important information surrounding coping capacity. And then we provide that information in form of a table. The table thatคุณพ่อ kindly pasted as a photo in our chat. Maybe we can open it. So for example, in the table that we have in the DRSF, they have information about GDP per capita, information about early warning systems, and different kinds of information about household preparedness. And these are put together just as an example. The real process of putting together this table would be to have an agreement, at least within the country, on what we would consider as coping capacity, and we define them and come up with a list of important statistics for it. So that on that basis, we are not going to review this table for the next round. So we're going to move to section C on human impact statistics, and this is crucial in disaster-related statistics, because at the end of the day, we are in the business of saving lives, and by showing and visualizing information on ทำไมมันแย่ผมโดนตัดออกมาอีกแล้วฮัลโหลได้ยินไหมครับ Hi, can you still hear me? Sorry, I am kicking out and coming back again. So the next round of the table review would be centered around human impact statistics. And we are talking about table C1, C2, and C3. And C1 is the human impact statistics by types of hazards. Different geographical region. And C3 is the summary table of affected population by sure I would like to invite country would like in doing the next round of tables, which will focus on impact statistics. Rajiv, I am extremely sorry for this. We just have this technical error for the whole time. But luckily that we heard Mongolia and we heard good work from also from Bhutan. I'm not sure where did I left off. But the next round of the disaster statistics review would focus on human impact statistics. Disaggregated by type of population and by geographical locations of the country. So as usual, I would like to invite any country who might want to take part in the next round of the review. Yeah, I see several people turning on the microphone, wondering if you would like to speak. I see Ranjit Ryan with the microphone on. Okay. So perhaps what I would do is to again reach out to several countries who may be interested in taking part in the next DRSF review, and I will inform the group of the countries who will agree to join the next exercise. And as usual, we are going to meet again in the next 2 months, and to review the results of the human impact statistics. Thanks, Ryan, for rejoining us, and yeah, I'm truly sorry for this technical issues. Maybe can I open the floor if anyone has any maybe remarks or questions either to Mongolia, Bhutan, or maybe to us at the Secretariat. Yeah, and as I mentioned, the next step from our side, the ESCAP, we're going to reach out to some countries who may be interested in joining the next round of disaster statistics table reviews focusing on human impacts. And then I'm going to inform the group of the name of the countries and then the date and time of the next TWG. I hope next time we don't have this IT issue. And I hope everyone learn a lot from Mongolia and Bhutan's presentation. So if and maybe before we leave the meeting today, may I inform everyone that we are going to organize a side event as part of the statistics UN Statistical Commission on February 16th. This is going to be a virtual event on disaster related statistics. We are going to provide more information to the members of the TWG via email about the event, and I hope everyone would be able to join the site event. And we are going to try to bring voices and experiences of our Asia Pacific countries to the global stage. So that would also be the purpose of the site event. And we are going to, again, provide this information through email so that everyone can register and get more information from there. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining today, and special thanks to Mongolia and Bhutan for their hard work over the past 2 months on the exposure statistics. And I hope I will take this opportunity to say Happy New Year to everyone. And I hope this year is going to be a greater one for everyone. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next 2 months. So the meeting is finished. Thank you.